Everyone, welcome to the tennis.com podcast. We have another awesome episode for you. I'm one of your hosts, Nina Pantic, joined by Irina Falcone. Hi, Irina.
Hey, how is it going?
So our episode this week features Steve Johnson. He has been a top-ranked American for a long time. He was a former USC four-time NCAA champion. He's awesome. I caught up with him at World Team Tennis like the past few episodes. But before we get into that interview, let's talk US Open. So US Open's coming up real quick in New York City, obviously. But the biggest news is all of the withdrawals. We're missing, I think, 5 of the top 10 women, as well as a couple of the top 10 men, including Rafa. Irina, are you surprised by the withdrawals? What is all looking to shape up to be for you?
Honestly, I'm not really surprised of the withdrawals. I think a lot of girls are, for health reasons, deciding not to come. But a lot of them, I mean, it's hard to just go straight into a slam first tournament back. I mean, there are some players, not a ton, but there's some players in that, main draw acceptance list that probably haven't played a match in 5 months. And first match back, boom, US Open with, global pandemic going on, having to stay in a bubble. It's not the Grand Slam New York US Open feel that most players are used to at that caliber. So I'm not really surprised, but to be honest, I wouldn't be very shocked if I see 5 to 7 more by the time US Open rolls around.
Agreed. And as of right now, players are rolling into New York for the Western and Southern Open. We've seen a bunch of players posting about it on Instagram, a little bit of an inside look at the bubble. And there was a meeting recently, a USTA press conference. They talked about these things called tiers. So it's new to us. I mean, obviously you and I haven't been in a regular tournament yet. Tier 1 is the players. It involves 1,000 people, which is kind of nuts to me, but it includes the tournament staff, players, guests, and then the medical teams. Tier 2, broadcasters. They have limited interaction with players. Tier 3 is the staff of the actual USTA National Tennis Center, which is like security, parking, vendors. Irina, you are going to be a commentator. You fall into tier 2 right now, not tier 1 where you're maybe hoping to get into. What's your status? Who are you working for? What are you going to be doing?
So yeah, super exciting. I'm actually going to be commentating for the USTA World Feed. Kind of nervous, kind of super pumped about it. I love commentating. I really love the sport. And the fact that I know pretty much every single girl on the tour and some of the guys on the ATP tour. I mean, I feel like I have an in per se. But yeah, as of now, tier 2, it is, let's see, we still got a little bit of time before first ball is hit, but I'm currently 13 out. So who knows, a lot of stuff would have to happen for me to become a tier 1 person. So yeah, I'm just kind of crossing my fingers to see what happens, but I will be going to New York and I'm super excited. I saw a few videos of the Top Golf that they were able to set up, that oh goodness, it's in the actual hotel and the simulator.
Right.
And, yeah. I think it's very smart of the USTA to do that for players, because I wouldn't be surprised if some of them start feeling like the walls are coming in a little bit and, start getting a little stir crazy when you can't leave the room. So yeah, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens now.
So there's 2 main hotels for the US Open. One of them is the Marriott. That's the one you mentioned with the golf. So it's 100% US Open only. So there's a gym, recovery room, arcade, game room, golf simulator, something called a sports simulator, outdoor lounge, food trucks. It sounds kind of awesome, but you're still not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to go to the city. It's kind of still very weird. Reminds me a little bit maybe of the World Team Tennis Greenbrier bubble. It's a good attempt. Not exactly the same, but it's all, all signs point to the tournament happening, which is the whole point here. The strangest thing for you, you're 13 out. You're already going to New York. You're setting up as if you could play, might not play. You need to know 4 days before, obviously, for the quarantine situation. Very go with the flow moment for you in your career. I don't even know how you're doing this. But the weirdest thing is, hypothetically, you could be on site and you could be 6 out. And Monday rolls around August 31st, but they're not going to put you in if someone pulls out for whatever reason they need to pull out. Lucky losers are going to be taken from the doubles field. What's your take on that? Because you literally would be there, ready to go, kind of.
I would be curious to see what would happen if they actually have singles alternates that were in the, alternate lists, and they are tested. They're all good in regarding like, hey, I'm safe, I'm negative, we're good. I wonder if they would still take a player that's in the doubles draw. I mean, I can understand for liability and insurance purposes, they want to make sure that someone's like legitimately, you know, I don't know. To be honest, like that's one that I'm not really thrilled about because I know that there's some players that are going to end up being one or two out. And imagine being one or two out playing in the US Open. I mean, never going to get a chance, I don't think, to be ranked 100 and, 30, 40 something and be able to get into the main draw of the US Open directly, not with a wild card or anything like that.
Exactly.
So having that opportunity and then just being like, actually, no, we're going to give it to a doubles player that hasn't been playing singles kind of rubs me the wrong way, I will admit. But you know what? The USTA knows what they're doing, and the fact that they're able to come up with, a tournament, a Grand Slam during a global pandemic, props to them.
Exactly. But it is definitely a little bit weird. You're ranked 155 with your protected ranking. I mean, you're going to be on site. I'm excited to see how this all plays out. It's all the unknown. This new normal is so confusing and bizarre, and we're all just kind of trying to figure it out. And the whole thing is to work together for the best possible outcome. We'll see what happens. But we have Stevie Johnson as our guest for this episode. He's playing the Western and Southern Open and the US Open in New York. The most exciting thing about this interview is to talk about his baby. He has a child on the way, a daughter, with his wife, Kendall. And I think it's going to affect his career quite a bit. He sounds like he really just wants to be at home and spend quality time with his wife and future child next year. You guys are going to hear from Steve Johnson. At one point, he says his dream is to live happily ever after with his family in Manhattan Beach. And I was like, can I come? So let's jump into our interview with Stevie Johnson. All right, Stevie, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you. We're here at the Greenbrier in West Virginia.
Yeah, it's definitely not where I thought I would be playing World Team Tennis this year, but with everything that's happened, it's quite the place to have everybody in one facility, and we're making the most of it.
Let's talk about quarantine a little bit. So you started off in Miami, Atlanta. How did you get out of the quarantine shutdown? What was your first match? California?
No, yeah. So I played a couple of the Grand Slam tours, 120 series for my agency that basically was the one who put it on. So I kind of just did a few matches for them in Orange County to kind of kick that thing off and get it running. So I wouldn't say those were my strongest efforts so far this year in those matches. I hadn't played at all before those matches, so I kind of went out there and was extremely rusty and kind of laughable at moments. I try and tell people it's like riding a bike, you never forget, but there's levels of riding bikes out there. So kind of got that out of my system early, which is good. Then got to Miami, played a little exhibition there. Didn't play great either. I'm not one to be a quick starter. And then I got to Atlanta, played well, and now I feel like, with World Team Tennis on the horizon, I had something to really look forward to and be competitive. So without something on the horizon for me, I find it hard to really kind of put the pedal to the metal and hit the practice courts really hard. Sometimes I just like to get away from the game and kind of regroup.
How much does it affect you, the idea of playing without fans? Because I know you've grinded in college, you were a junior, you played in the futures, but it's been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, we've played without fans a lot. I think, when you think of tennis, I mean, you definitely think of Roger and Rafa and these guys who, play in packed houses. And, a lot of the outside courts maybe don't have the spectator numbers as those guys do, which is, rightfully so. So, for us, I think it's different. It's also a little different not having, referees and ball people, and, just the court looks different because you've been so accustomed to having, 10, 12 people kind of out on the court with you at a time, and now it's pretty empty. So it just takes some getting used to, but if that's what it takes for us to go play tennis, we're all big boys and big girls. We can pick up our own balls, and, it's not something to complain about. It's just something that we got to do at the moment.
Was there ever any time, maybe in April or May, where you were almost glad to have a break or you were enjoying the quarantine? Because for me, I definitely had a point where I was like, this isn't so bad, but I think the income is a problem, obviously.
Yeah, I think I looked at it at the end, I think I took 75 days off after, the Indian Wells Challenger final. So for me, day 76 wasn't like I was itching to go play tennis by any stretch of the imagination. Mark and I went out and hit balls. It was like a Friday afternoon, and it was just, comedy hour. I mean, we were horrible. It was just, I wish there was a video because it was pretty bad. But, we had some laughs, and, it's just trying to get back into the swing of things. I hit like 2 days a week for a couple weeks, then I hit 3 days a week, and then I hit 4 days a week, just to kind of, because this was on the horizon and things to get ready for. So, for me, I was, it's interesting because I've never had that long of a layoff from tennis before. So I don't know, whenever my career comes to an end, how much I'll be playing tennis after my career. I was pretty comfortable without it. So we'll see. There's a lot of time left, hopefully, in my career. So hopefully we don't have to look, get there too fast.
It is interesting to see what people have been up to when they weren't able to play tennis. Did you get up to anything weird?
No, we stayed out in Palm Springs for like 7-8 weeks, and then then moseyed on back to LA. I played a bit of golf, but stayed home, with everything that was kind of happening, with just in general, my wife being pregnant and everything. We didn't want to do anything, I didn't crazy or rash or, do anything like that. So we just kind of stuck by ourselves, and, was with her family for a lot of it, and spent some time with my mom. And so it's been fun to kind of just be at home, but, maybe a little easier for somebody like me who's a bit of a homebody, and that doesn't, bother him too much.
So you spent a lot of time with the in-laws. What is family life like for you? How did you even meet your wife? And have you guys always lived in the LA area? Yeah.
Yeah. So luckily, very lucky, you hear a lot of maybe tough stories with, maybe, husbands and wives not liking their in-laws, and super fortunate that, my wife's family, it's awesome. They're great people. I spent, a lot of time around them, and, it's, they just feel like, family, it's no, and there's nothing there. It's all fun and games. It's all fun for me, and which makes definitely makes life easy. That's for sure. But I met my wife back at USC. She was a stud volleyball player at SC. Was an All-American multiple times, and so we kind of met at the end of college, and so back in early February, March of 2012, and we've been together ever since. So it's been that's probably my biggest accomplishment at USC. That's for sure.
That is not, okay, it can be if that's how you want it to be, but you also happen to have won 4 team NCAA titles and 2 individual ones, and ended on I think it was a 72 match winning streak. So nice try.
Those are all for other people to talk about. So for me, I just enjoy what I've gained from that from USC in a friends and in a family standpoint. So for me, that's it's something that I'll always have with my teammates and everything, but it's something that I never want to ever bring up or talk about, to be honest.
That's fair. And LA, so is this where you grew up as well? Is this where you've been your whole life?
Yeah, so I grew up in Orange County, so just south of Los Angeles. Didn't want to leave, Southern California ever in my life. So got very lucky in going to USC and playing for Peter Smith. Was always the goal since I can remember, kind of, growing up. And then got lucky with my wife's from Manhattan Beach, so we're not leaving, Manhattan Beach to the South Bay anytime soon. I think we'll be there for the rest of our lives, I hope, unless something crazy happens. So that's kind of, I'll never leave Southern California, I don't think, in my life.
So USC was always the goal. You were never considering jumping into the pro tour at 18?
Oh, no, no shot. I was a good 18-year-old, but I wasn't that good. I wasn't, if you're 18 and you're cracking the top 100 or getting close, that's a big difference from where I was, so I needed to learn a lot, how to be a pro, how to be an adult, how to live life on your own. There's a lot of things that, I had to learn in college, and, some I learned the hard way, and some came a little bit easier, but all of those experiences, I think, helped me get to where I am today.
Was there anything surprising about going to college at USC where you weren't really expecting it? Because, obviously you did well on the court, but anything off the court that threw you, dorms or the food or training, anything?
Just I think everything, because I lived at home my whole life. So, it's a little different when you have mom and dad kind of helping you with, whatever it may be, laundry, travel, dinner, all the little things that you just take for granted. I think, when you're an adult, you kind of have to make all these decisions on your own. And sometimes, what you think is the right decision at the time, you look back and think it was, maybe you could have done something a little different, a little bit better. And so you just have to learn those lessons, sometimes the hard way, and hopefully only once. But, what I learned in college was just to, I matured a lot. I grew up, gave me a chance to be an adult and be okay on my own.
Have you thought about whether you want your daughter or even more future children to play tennis?
Yeah, I don't think so, to be honest. I know that may not be a popular opinion amongst tennis players, but I don't know. I love tennis. I think what it gives kids is incredible. Like, from a standpoint of character and everything, because you're out there by yourself. You need to be honest. You need to be trustworthy. You need to be disciplined. I think it creates a lot of that. But I also, know what it was like for me being a kid, sometimes how frustrating and how different it was not having a team or, not having anybody out there with you, and how lonely that can be at certain times. So, if they, want to play tennis, you'll never, steer them in the other direction, because you're going to, I'll let them do whatever they want. But hopefully, golf or something else, that maybe I can squeeze out there with them and, kind of, use it as a, as a backdoor way to kind of continue my golf habits.
Sam Querrey's baby. We have Mike Bryan's baby, Jake. Have you interacted? Have you seen them? What's the thought of having a baby on tour?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I've seen a lot of it just being, an observant bystander through the years of, the American guys and how they've traveled and how it's worked. And John, of course, having 2 babies now. But it's been fun. Sam is one of my closest friends, and, we flew here with Abby and Ford, and, I was with them the other day while Sam was playing. It's kind of holding Ford, and, it's interesting because I just, I think 5 years ago I would have like freaked out having a baby in my hands, but, just with, my sister having a baby, my wife's sister having a baby, like, you get more comfortable with it. And now, I'm, really looking forward to starting a family of my own. And, that's the first and, most important thing for me, going forward this year.
Is it still like a little bit terrifying though, the changes that are coming?
Oh yeah. 'Cause at this point, I can screw up my life, it's okay. But, you don't want to screw up somebody else's life that you're responsible for. So there's a lot of pressure, I feel like, but hopefully, I know my wife will steer me in the right direction.
And you're probably taking some notes here, watching little Ford and Jake running, like, being carried around. They're not running around yet, but yeah. It's like a little zoo of babies out here.
Yeah, but it's just great though, because everybody's close, and, I don't know what, maybe, what happens when you become a mom or a dad. I think everybody kind of, bands together and they're all in this together kind of thing. So it's been fun to see, but just to see how, Sam's and John's and, people that I'm extremely close with, how their lives have changed since, for the last 10 years since, we've all been on tour. So it's really cool and neat, and, to see this new chapter in all of our lives.
Hey guys, today we have ATP player Steve Johnson talking about all the advice he's gotten from other ATP dads. Keep listening.
You mentioned that you're friends with all these American guys. Does that mean that your wedding was one big tennis crazy party and everyone got to unite? Because I know we have another American getting married this year in December, still Jack Sock. So tennis weddings seem to be like a happy reunion.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wouldn't say too many tennis people were invited to my wedding. I mean, tennis people from the tour. I don't want to like make anybody angry, but it's, I had like my, my closest friends, Sam, John, Dennis Kudlow were all groomsmen. I had Bradley Klon and a lot of other coaches or people that have helped get me there. A lot of my teammates from USC were there, but, I don't know. It's just interesting, how people kind of gravitate towards one way or the other. And it's also tough with our schedules getting tennis people to anything in the middle of the year when, there's tournaments going on. So, but it was fun, just to kind of get everybody out of, one environment and into a different one, just to have fun and kind of kick back and no pressure and just have fun.
And now it's interesting because like everything has changed so much, and you had this big break from tennis to be normal, and you could have gone to weddings that weddings were allowed, but they're not, obviously. Are you looking forward to things getting back to normal? I think we're not really anywhere near normal, but are you excited for that, even though you had this, you almost enjoyed your break? Yeah,
it's interesting because there's certain aspects that you really want to get back to normal, and then there's certain aspects that you don't want to get back to normal. I didn't mind not traveling for the last 3 months kind of thing. But I also, enjoyed being at home, like taking the bikes out and, riding and having dinner down, wherever, where we live, and which you also couldn't do at the time. So it was interesting to, yes, some aspects were good and some you're like, all right, like I'm not like a social butterfly where I want to go out and, go to bars and stuff, but, going out to dinner or going out to wherever is, definitely something I still want to do, so it's one of those things where you got to take the good with the bad on some of them.
Do you feel comfortable? I mean, I feel like you've been in top 100 and established the top for so long. Do you feel comfortable and like settled in as someone who's at the top of the game, or does that feeling of like still trying to strive and make it and keep getting higher, never go away?
You never want to. I don't think you ever want to be comfortable. You always want to continue to get better, and I think that's maybe the most important quality you can have as any athlete, regardless of sport and regardless of what you're ranked or what your place is in the world. You always want to continue to get better and better. You know, you look at Roger and Rafa. You know, these guys have been at the top for so long, and they continue to get better and better at their game and their craft, and that's what makes them better. They don't get complacent. They don't, think, oh, we made it, we're good. They want to make it and stay there. So that's kind of how I feel. Like I feel comfortable being in the top 100. I feel comfortable going to these big events, and all these events were, 7, 8, 10 years ago, I was so new, I was nervous, and now I feel very comfortable, but I still want to, go out there every day and prove myself until, whenever that last day may come.
Was there ever a time, because from someone looking out from the outside in on your life and your career, it looks like things went very smoothly. You went junior career, USC, college, top 100, top 30, everything. Was there ever a time where you didn't think that maybe tennis was for you, or has it always been very clear?
No, it's, there's always moments where you question probably everything in your life, and I've had a few of those on the tour. 13, 2015, 26, around there, it's like I had a few moments where it was like, all right, time to hang them up, and I need to get away from tennis for 6 months and reevaluate everything. And it's like, let's maybe take it easy. You've had a bad 2 or 3 months. It's not the end of the world. But sometimes you're so immersed in your own, wins and losses, and that it clouds your judgment on, the overall big picture. And so it's been tough. I've had some hard lessons to learn. I've had some tough phone calls to make, and sometimes the people that love you the most kind of make sure they're telling you the truth rather than what you want to hear, and it kind of kicks you in the butt in the right direction, I think.
I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I've had a few of those tough phone calls. I think, maybe we'll laugh about it. We laugh about it now with, my mom or coaches and stuff, and it's just kind of funny where, you can't believe somebody said that to you, but, it was what they needed to say at the time, and, it is what it is. Probably not PG for this podcast.
I love the honesty, though, because you always think that some players, especially someone like you who's done so well, like, from my opinion, I mean, we're the same year, so I've always known your name from college tennis and even when we were younger. And I've always thought, like, things seem to be going so well for him at all times. And I'm like, I've always wondered if there's even dark moments or hard moments for players that are in the top 100, that are
there's
consistent.
A lot of them. Yeah, it's not, even Roger doesn't have, a trajectory of straight, greatness. He was a young guy once who was kind of not floundering. That's a bad word to use for Roger. But, early in his career, early when he was 17, 18, 19, not quite maybe hitting his potential at that time, and obviously he's figured it out since then. But I think every tennis player has moments of doubt and questioning of kind of a lot of things, but they gotta believe in themselves and have that self drive and self worth to go out there and just put it on the line every day.
When you look back, I know you're nowhere near done, but when you look back, is there a certain highlight that stands out to you from your career?
For me, I think there's a couple. In college, winning the team NCAA championships are always. I'll always look back with, great memories. And then on the tour, winning my first title was, every title had something different, for me, the 4 that I've had in singles. And, I can, kind of tell you with each of them, what was kind of there at the time and happening. And, it's, I can look back on all 4 of those extremely fondly.
Where do you keep your rings? You get rings for each one you win, right?
Yeah.
All team or individual, or just team?
Yeah, no, for both. So I think they're downstairs at the house in like a ring case. I've probably worn them like once. They tell you we get them. At USC you get them on the football field, and you think you're king of the world and whatever. But but after that, I'm glad nobody lost them in those nights of whatever ensued after at the bars. And but it's they're all downstairs. Not something that I wear ever. They're just kind of a memento, and with some of the other trophies that I've gained, and I've lost a lot of trophies along the way, so there's just kind of a hodgepodge group of case that is not going to be moved from when we move into our new house. So we're my wife's kind of put the end on that, this trophy case that I have.
The collection?
Yeah, there's some in there that I want to keep, and there's some that it is what it is. I don't know how they made it back, but some did, some didn't. Some are broken, some are I don't know.
Are you and your wife moving into a house, or are you guys ready to live together in a house?
Yeah, no, we live together in Redondo, but we're building a house in Manhattan Beach, so we're really lucky. I've got no say in any of it, which is great. So I get updates from her, and so I just told her to let me know when it's done, and we'll live happily ever after. That's the plan.
You are living the dream. Do you ever
trying?
Do you? This is my last question. When you look ahead, let's hypothetically, you're still playing in 3 or 4 years, which you should be. But do you want to keep playing so that your daughter maybe understands like who you are and can watch you play and see a match and be like, "That's my dad"? Have you thought about that at all? It's a bit early.
Yeah, no. I mean, I definitely have, but I don't know what age that is. I don't know what age you start remembering things or whatever it may be. For me though, I think it's going to be hard to be away from the family like we are now, 25, 30 weeks of the year, and depending on how the travel is and how the world is in 3 to 5 years, kind of how everything is going, where I'm ranked. There's a lot of variables in there, but I know that I'm not going to be somebody that wants to be gone from home when, they start having, the little things as kids where you don't want to miss, whatever. So, I don't want to be, like just gone when important things are happening. So for me, I think hopefully I can play for, a few more years, but, there's, going to be a side of me that, probably will be, more at home than he is on the road.
But what will you do if you're not a pro tennis player?
I don't know. There's a lot more to life than being a pro tennis player. I know that. But, to figure out what's next, hopefully I still have some time, but we're still working on how to be a pro tennis player. So at the moment, we're trying to do our best to really just put our best foot forward every day.
All right, Stevie, this has been awesome. I'm hoping for a really exciting and fun 2021 for you with a new baby, as well as hopefully a full calendar, maybe a new calendar for you anyway. So yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. And hopefully, 2021 will be a little bit more smooth than 2020. This has been a bit of a rocky get-go for the tennis world and most of the world in general.
It has. Thank you, Stevie.
Of course.
From the Tennis Channel Podcast Network, this has been the Tennis.com podcast. Be sure to subscribe to stay caught up. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every major listening app, as well as tennis.com/podcasts. You can also see the videos of our episodes on Tennis Channel's YouTube page and Tennis.com's Facebook page. We're your hosts, Nina Pantic and Irina Falcone. We'd like to thank our team, editor and audio designer and video editor Christina Koseva, producers Alexa March and Sean O'Malley, and executive producers Shelby Coleman, Kyle Einhorn, and Andy Chu.